There was somebody out there attacking people on more than one occasion, and we now knew that it was the same individual.
The fear and anxiety that this man created within our communities is almost immeasurable. The advice that we were given to lone females walking in remote locations is clearly going to have an impact on individuals because they don't feel safe walking within their own communities. They don't feel safe walking the dogs. They don't feel safe walking down footpaths that are remote or darkened. And so in terms of catching him, it becomes of paramount importance.
I absolutely believed that we would get the information, that the information was in the community. And if you remember my appeal, I talked about it might be your relative, your neighbour, your family member, friend, somebody, work colleague. That was the focus. That I truly believed somebody knew or had an idea that might not have come forward before. So I definitely thought everything suggested it was somebody who was local in the community from where the crimes took place, from the sighting. So I did believe it, and I genuinely hoped, with all the information we put out together, that all those bits would give them the clue to say, you know what, it might be them, or I think it's them but I haven't rang before and I'll ring now.
We were looking for a needle in a haystack. That community intelligence held that needle.
Thanks to the work of forensic experts at Derbyshire Police, detectives now firmly believe that the rapist from Darley Abbey was also responsible for the attack at West Park Nature Reserve in Spondon. Two separate investigations became one, and the force once again turned to the public to help them in the manhunt.
Whilst walking around Spondon Village, I managed to speak to a lot of shopkeepers, people that was in the library. There was also people in the local pub that was discussing what they'd read that morning in the newspaper and what the appeals had been from the police, and was obviously concerned that this person could be local, and they didn't realise, they didn't know who it was. So yes, the community was grouping together to be on the lookout, obviously very worried, very anxious that it had got to this stage, that more than one attack had now become apparent.
Living in the county, living within the city of Derby, having family that are within the city of Derby, it's of paramount importance that we catch this person as soon as we possibly can to make sure that no member of the public is living in fear, and certainly no member of the public is further attacked by this individual, which is why myself and my team of detectives were working as hard as we were to try and identify the person responsible.
At this point, the detective decided to embark on a massive DNA screening project, which saw teams of officers going out into their communities of Derby to ask men to give a swab of their saliva. It was hoped that by doing this, they would be able to find people who match the description, take a sample, and either eliminate that person from the inquiry or find a forensic match.
The second victim from December 2015 rang in and reported that she'd had a sighting and saw who she believed to be the offender walking to another locality within Spondon. And so specialist resources from the Uniform Task Force were deployed alongside detectives from the Major Crime Team to go and request DNA swabs from everybody that lived within a particular estate within Spondon, because we felt that the offender may either live there or may be visiting somebody within that locality. So extensive house-to-house, extensive screening essentially of DNA was undertaken within a small community within Spondon. The people within that community responded fantastically well. Everybody came forward, everybody provided their DNA, and everybody wanted to help try and catch the person that was responsible. And so we had a fantastic response. Those submissions were made, and none of the people within those submissions actually turned out to be our offender. But that was a substantial piece of work that we undertook on the back of a sighting from one of the victims, and they are the lengths that we will go to try and close down and identify the person responsible.
While the DNA swabbing of Spondon was taking place, detectives in Derby started reviewing older case files to see if there were any unresolved rapes or attempted rapes that bore a resemblance to the Darley Abbey and Spondon attacks. It was then that officers found an incident that happened in 2014, a year before Darley Abbey. Not only was the description of the offender similar, but it also happened on the same footpath in West Park Nature Reserve that detectives were already investigating. Now the team were hunting for a sex offender who had struck 3 times within the city of Derby in the space of 15 months.
The victim on that occasion was a teenage girl. As she approached the path, the offender asked her if she was okay, allowed the victim to walk by, and then the attack has taken place. The description of the offender was similar, and that for me, with it being the same location, the words that were used by the offender, and having been able to go into the detail of that specific case, I was comfortable that that was a further offence that could be attributed and linked to this same offender, and at that point I took the decision to link that case.
It was a scary thought that, you know, this person's attacked now on more than one occasion and it could potentially happen again, and you was on edge thinking, when is it going to happen again?